Winter can wreak havoc on your skin. Hey, it's Kayla, and it's not just the weather, but as a new mom, I've seen my skin change in ways that I'm not too happy about. But that's where the Skin Center has you covered. Their most popular treatment is Botox because they're the best at it. They've been ranked a top 10 provider in the nation by Allergan Aesthetics, the makers of Botox. And their best facial is what I got. It's the HydraFacial. It exfoliates, extracts, and hydrates all at once. So save your skin from these winter blues and DM at the Skin Center MD on Instagram and mention code Kayla to get $100 off your first Botox or filler treatment or any skincare package.
Hey, what is going on? You are listening to TAGS Podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast. I'm your host, Steve V, and this is episode 341 alongside Jeremy Ross Lopez. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good. How are you on this Monday?
I'm not bad. We'll talk a minute about our weekends in just a second. Joining us, of course, is Cody Maurice Doggett. How you doing, Cody?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing today?
Really good, really good. You know, it's so funny. We record this Monday evenings, in case you didn't know that when you're listening to this, when it drops on Tuesday. And I had such a good weekend that I woke up yesterday morning in a panic and thinking, oh my God, we're recording. And I immediately text, because I had already asked you, Jeremy, and I had to text Cody, and oh my God, I was like, and then I realized, oh my God, wait, it's not Monday, it's Sunday.
You scared the bejesus out of me, just so you know. I was like, oh my God, what is today? Did I sleep through Sunday? It was crazy, so...
That tells you how much fun I had this weekend. I mean, I literally, as I've talked so many times about my ankle that I'm blue in the face, but it's coming to an end, I swear, you guys. But the good news, the thing about it is I went out twice this weekend, even with my I walk crutch. Shout out to I walk crutch. Yeah. And I went out with a girlfriend of mine on one day, and then another friend of mine the next day, and we just had so much fun, like really, and then carried the party back and was listening to music here, dancing practically in the apartment. Just a lot of fun, and I really needed that. It's been months since I've done any of that, so yeah, but so much fun that I almost forgot that I was ready to record yesterday, but that means that I'm geared up for this show. How did you have a good weekend, Jeremy, Cody?
Yeah, I was at a bachelorette weekend in Boston for the whole thing, and it was like crazy amount of drinking and partying and like drag show and dinners and dancing, and just I'm exhausted from all of that festivities.
I love it. Cody, how about yourself?
Had a great weekend. I worked on Saturday, but yesterday I got to meet some of Joe's wonderful friends. We had dinner, and then unexpectedly had an impromptu meetup with one of the listeners here, Teddy. You know Teddy, right?
Listeners to our show?
Listeners to the show, yeah. To TAGS Podcast.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, he was in town for something, and he texted me and said, do you want to hang out? And I was like, well, I'm on my way back from Long Island. You want to grab a drink here? And we had a good time. I love it. It was so much fun. I thought of you.
Thanks for my call.
So here's what happened. Are you ready? So I thought of you.
We can talk about this after, but no, I'm joking.
I thought of you, and I was like, "Oh, I should invite Steve." But it was so packed last night in the bar.
I'm glad you did it.
That's why I was like, okay, I'm glad that Steve is, because it was insane. And I was
that eye crutch may not come in handy.
The eye crutch would be no good.
I mean, I did really well in these restaurants that I went to, which were, a New York restaurant is tiny, and I did really well, and everyone's really accommodating and, more than you can believe, and it's all, and I can get around, but not quite ready for the bar scene. But anyways, it is a countdown, you guys, for our special offer for patreon.com/tags podcast. I'm extending it to Friday. And this is where you can join our special Tags Sex Pause community and get special perks at various tiers. And when you do that, not only do you get these great sexy perks, but you also are supporting Tags Podcast now in its 5th year. I revamped the entire Patreon page. It's extended the special offer. You can join afterwards, but it's really great if you join till Friday. I'm extending till Friday because I'm going to give you some reminders today and on our Wednesday show that if you join, you get a special offer. You'll get a shout out on the show, plus an exclusive live stream, which will be really great. And so check it out. Go over there to patreon.com/tags podcast. The countdown is real until Friday. And think about taking advantage of grabbing one of those special offered tiers that you see there. All right, let's get into it. I'm really excited. We have so much to cover.
Okay.
You know, a new survey came out, a new LGBT identification in the U.S. ticks up to 7.1%. This is pretty big. The percentage of U.S. adults who self-identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or something other than heterosexual has increased to a new high of 7.1%. And that's doubled since 2012 when the Gallup first measured it. Gallup asked Americans whether they personally identify as straight or heterosexual, lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender as part of the demographic information it collects on all U.S. telephone surveys. Respondents can also volunteer other sexual orientation or gender ID they prefer, but huge numbers. They're attributing roughly 21% of Generation Z Americans who have reached adulthood, those born between 1997 and 2003, identify as LGBT. That's 21% of Generation Z. That's pretty huge. The other findings that it noticed too is bisexuality. So more than half of LGBT Americans, so we're talking 50% of LGBT Americans indicate they are bisexual.
Oh, wow.
That percentage translates to 4% of US adults. And meanwhile, 21% of LGBT Americans say they are gay, 14% lesbian, 10% transgender, and 4% something else. Generation Z is the highest grossing of change that we're seeing. What's the bottom line in all this? Well, the proportion of U.S. adults who consider themselves to be lesbian, gay, bi, or trans has grown at a faster pace over the past year than in prior years. And it's occurring, like I said, in Generation Z, most at a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
These young adults are coming of age, including coming to terms with their sexuality, gender identification, at a time when Americans increasingly accept gays, lesbians, and transgender and LGBT individuals. Jeremy, does this surprise you that that the huge increase of identification as LGBT since 2012, 7.1%, this uptick?
It does. That's that's a large jump. And I mean, I think it's a good thing that people are self-identifying and just coming to terms with what you choose to identify as, and it's an interesting time for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because there's obviously reports of more hate crimes coming about, but I'm wondering, we're seeing more of this identification happening. Cody, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, we've talked more about people coming out as trans. We've got a story coming out in a minute on Drag Race of just that in a minute. But what's your thoughts on this increase? Yeah, I know,
right? You led with like my favorite topic. So, okay. All right.
There you go.
Got me really excited. My viewpoints are, I think that it makes sense to me because with the access that everyone has to so much information now, and honestly, in the lockdown, people have been able to take stock of how they feel and who they are really, and then kind of reflect on what their sexuality is, who they really are. So those two things coupled with each other it makes sense to me that the uptick came after the pandemic, basically.
Yeah, I feel like, and there's more options too on media.
Mm-hmm.
You can see this all
More
the time,
representation.
whether
Yeah, for sure.
representation, which is huge. Speaking of representation, if you watch Drag Race, I know you do, Cody.
You know I do.
I watch, you got me into it. I'm hooked. Drag Race's Jasmine Kennedy came out as trans in a tearful scene in the, I guess it's the after show,
Yep.
Untucked.
Untucked. Yep.
Friday night. Contestants Bosco and Jasmine Kennedy both opened up about their gender journey. In one scene, Deja Sky asked the group, had any considered transitioning?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting question that probably wouldn't have occurred in early seasons of the Drag Race phenomenon. I don't think. Even though there's been transgender, I don't think this question would have occurred. And that's my opinion. Bosco, who came out as trans on Twitter earlier this month, responded, I've definitely thought about transitioning, she said, especially during the pandemic. There you go, Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Bosco is something that I used to feel a lot of gender euphoria, and I had to go an entire year without her. She said, and I remember seeing this on this show, she said that in her day job in customer service, being gendered as male so often became grating and made her consider transitioning. She wanted to say she's still figuring out what she wants to do in the time since the show. But beyond that, Jasmine Kennedy opened up, and I remember watching this on Friday night.
Yeah.
Before coming here, I was about to start hormones, she said. And coming here, I was scared and I didn't want to have to go through this process while going through that. But seeing Carrie, they don't list her name here, but Carrie Colby,
Yep.
another contestant, how confident she is in who she is, it just further affirmed what I've been feeling my whole life. You know, I watched this whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got a chance to see it, Cody.
Oh, you know I was watching live, girl.
Yeah, and I don't know that you watched it, Jeremy, yet, right?
No.
Yeah. It was such a touching moment because in addition to Jasmine Kennedy coming out as trans and she was in tears, she also said that she had a boyfriend that totally supports her decision and identifies the boyfriend as gay. And Jasmine wasn't sure, you know, you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is one thing to go through your journey and then to make that decision on live TV, which is wonderful. But then you're in a relationship where you started the relationship as a gay man who does drag, but then you come out as you're transitioning, and the boyfriend totally supports that whole decision.
So lovely.
And that part really touched me too, because you never know with that. I mean, what are your thoughts when you saw that coming out process of Jasmine?
I was really just boohooing, and along with Jasmine Kennedy, who kind of got on my nerves the previous 2 episodes.
Right.
But she's very endearing now. I really, really empathize with her as far as her journey and her self-discovery. I think it's amazing that in this time she's been able to discover who she really is, and she's really staying true to herself. I wish her all the best for her transition, and I thought they're getting another Emmy because that was gold right there.
Yeah, it's interesting because with Drag Race contestants, I do think this is a newer thing. Before, drag was just drag. Now the show has transgendered contestants on there. Now they have contestants in the current season realizing that they are trans and coming out midway through the season. Now you have they just let go of a straight man, a heterosexual man who does drag. So when you hear all that, Jeremy, I mean, I guess it's not as surprising, the 7.1 uptick of people identifying, if we're barely getting that in our media, right?
No, I think it's great, and I love that it's staying true to being inclusive on the show.
Right.
I feel like in past seasons, I think there have been contestants that have either gone back and forth in making the decision, or on the platform used it to help with the transition, which is really great.
You know what? Good point, because there was a time, let's not fool ourselves. There was a time when people in our own community were not accepting of transgender. Even in the drag worlds, there was other names that we used to refer to transgendered.
Yeah.
There was a lot of non-acceptance within the LGBTQ. I mean, really, there wasn't. I mean, and not that long ago, people did not accept that are even within our own acronyms. So I think it took a show like Drag Race, for example, but other shows like Euphoria, we could go on, and to show representation happening, and that even if you're listening and you happen to be of the hetero world, shout out to our heteros allies, that
Hey,
even
girl.
within our own acronym at times we were not always accepting of each other. And so I'm glad that we're seeing more of that. It makes a huge
Definitely.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this upcoming story is a trans Florida woman has been arrested after giving a food delivery guy poppers and performing oral sex and other sexual acts on them.
What?
Just gonna give you that there. Serve you this.
Only in
A
Florida.
lunch food delivery, ended up in an arrest after a 17-year-old called his mother to tell her details of what happened when he said a woman lured him into an apartment on Miami Beach. And according to the Miami Beach police, the teen was dispatched to deliver food to a person named Lisbeth on last Thursday. After dropping off the food and getting money from the woman, the teen left. But he said while he was outside of the building, Lisbeth invited him back into the apartment. He complied. Inside, he said he watched as Lisbeth took a sniff of a substance police said was poppers. Lisbeth then removed the boy's pants and underwear and performed sex acts on him, according to a report, which then recounted that the teen asked Lisbeth if she had a condom, and she gave him one.
What?
The two engaged in various sex acts.
This
Okay,
sounds
they
like
fucked.
Euphoria.
After he left the apartment, he called his mom. Like, really? Okay. To tell her what had happened. He said that Lisbeth was transgender and that he felt like he had become intoxicated by the substance. Well, then why'd you go back into the apartment? You were high on that before, but okay. He had the telephone number from the delivery and also told his mother to the address. The Miami police responded. The woman was identified as Catherine Lisbeth Soto Castro, 36, of Miami Beach. She is charged with 2 counts of unlawful sexual activity with a minor.
Yikes.
Lots to unpack there.
It's a lot.
It's fun. This is so Florida, though, because I've been getting a lot of deliveries. Obviously, can't go shopping on my own right now because of the broken ankle. And we just recently, our building, just last week, we don't have to wear a mask in our buildings anymore. But for the most part, they're putting those packages on my doorstep, ringing the doorbell and running away like the plague. And so and I'm like, thank you, down the hall, wondering, I wonder if it's a cute delivery guy under that mask that's down the hall already out the door. Or, I mean, we have no clue. Here, of course, in Florida, they can see everything. And then you can even ask these people, I don't know.
Back up, like Mrs. Robinson. I was like,
Cody, what are your thoughts on this? When asked to at least check the ID next time?
I just wonder how many times Elizabeth has done this.
It was a little too slick.
I know, right? she knew exactly what she was doing. I feel like this was premeditated. To me, it looks like it was premeditated, and it looks like it wasn't her first time trying to seduce a delivery person, and this time she got caught because the young man was underage. So I don't think that.
Yeah.
I think that she unfortunately kind of stepped in some doo doo, and now she has to pay the price for
And
it.
everyone hates cleaning up doo doo on a
Oh my
shoe.
God, it's the worst.
Not my Manolas.
Poor
Yeah,
Elizabeth.
I
I feel
mean,
bad, but she.
we've all, Jeremy, had fantasies about the delivery experience, but what do you think of what do you think about that? And what do you think about poppers in the middle of the day? I don't know about that.
I kind of think that the whole thing sounds very Miami, to be honest. I know that's not an excuse,
Call your
but
friend, Jeremy, that
but
you know which one we're talking about.
but I do think that it sounds hot, and I don't understand the coercion versus the like actual participating. Like, it sounds like they were on an even playing field, and the kid was into it, but then reported back to his mom. So I
Yeah.
definitely
But
think
he's
that
underage,
the
though. He doesn't.
underage, like,
Yeah.
the legalities of it are terrible. But I do also, I don't know, it's just, it takes two to tango, is my opinion, at the same time of the fact that he's not legal age.
Yeah. I.
And I also think poppers at any time of day, I still think that you have a say in what you partake in.
Yes.
And the high that you get from poppers, whether or not it gives you a headache or whatever the side effects are not like 20 or 30 minutes long.
And it doesn't make
So
you ask for a
I don't know.
condom.
It just, yeah,
It's a messy
it brings up a lot of questions for me, and it is a very, like, it's a loaded topic.
it's
And
a
I
messy
do, it
situation.
is, yeah, but I also think that a lot of things go down and happen in Miami, and so it's not super
Yeah.
surprising for me.
You know what? Last point, absolutely 100%. Sorry, Miami. I totally agree with that. This just doesn't, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm watching Bold and the Beautiful at 1 o'clock when I'm eating my lunch. Sorry, guilty
Big hip hop
pleasure.
focus.
I love my Bold and the Beautiful. 20 minutes of pure soap opera. But y- but it does scream of just a mess on both ends, because how are you going to leave a house and then be asked back? So you had to go back into the house, and if you get to the door and they don't say, "Oh, I didn't get my receipt," or this or that, but no, come on in. It's like, wait a minute, why are you going? You're 17. Why are you going into it? And then doing the act, asking for the condom. We all know poppers, but they don't last that long to
Mhm.
be that thoughtful to ask for a condom and engage in sexual activities. On the other hand, how are you going to be offering just a random delivery guy poppers? And we know the tremendous hate crimes that are happening. Like, do you really want to get beat up to death in your own apartment?
And you know what other question I was wondering too? I thought that and I may be wrong about this, I thought that all delivery services you had to be 18 or older.
Oh,
Well,
that is a
that's what
good
somebody
point.
said on one of the threads, too. That's a really good point. Somebody wrote in and said, I thought they had to be 18. I don't know that. Does anybody know that
I have
for
no
a fact?
idea. No. I can Google it
Who's
really quick.
Googling?
I am.
Okay, you Googled. That's a really good point that brings up. Look, our investigative journalistic show that's made a turn. We don't. We're now sex and
Yeah,
investigative journalism.
it says most delivery services as well as restaurants require delivery drivers to be at least 18 or 19 years old.
What about in Miami specifically?
Oh, let's
Well,
see.
there you
So
go.
it says people under the age of 18 are not allowed to use an adult's Uber Eats account to request deliveries. And anyone under the age of 18 is not allowed to order or receive alcohol deliveries. That's common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All drivers must also be at least 19 years of age, but no previous delivery experience is required. That's for
19.
Grubhub. So there's Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats,
Eats,
Postmates. So there's a bunch of them.
Caviar. Don't forget Caviar, the one I like
Oh, of course you do, bitch.
It's a little bit higher end because a little bit higher end restaurants.
Why? Because you're ordering bottles of red wine instead of fucking food.
And beluga caviar.
And we might have a little bit of caviar on the side, just saying.
On your little crostinis.
Or lightly toasted, darling.
I'm a fancy boy over here. Yeah, I mean, I just got Drizzly. We're going to talk about, which is a really great delivery service, and they kind of give you the best liquor delivery, but they ask me for my ID when I get there. Yeah, this seems a little questionable. Like, how far is this case going to go if it really is that he is underage? I think the delivery service is going to be in trouble too for hiring an underage person. I don't know that Miss Lisbeth is going to get an out. That I thought because I thought all delivery people were of 18, and so that gave me, But unfortunately, the reality of the situation is if you could cry till you're blue in the face that you just assumed, but if you do have any sexual encounters with somebody that's underage, regardless of any of the rules that are in place or not in place, you are still guilty of raping an underage individual, and that's just the reality of it. And so that sort of trumps anything that may be the delivery service's problem, I think, but it's a mess any way you look at it. And
it's definitely a hot mess, but it's just not a story that is shocking coming from Miami specifically.
It is,
and I do love Miami, so it has nothing.
And you say
to do
that
with
love of Miami,
She'd probably answer the door in a bikini and like a sarong type deal, or
I don't know.
Nice,
I mean,
lovely flowy.
I think it sounded more premeditated the way Jeremy described it, and called the person back, and the person was naive enough to go back, and just, I don't know, it sounded like spinning a web. I'm not sure. It's a lot. Psst. Got a sex conundrum? Need another take on how to handle it in the bedroom or in the alleyway? Well, ask Tags. Need some advice regarding your relationship? He's perfect, but again, we got you. DM us for some solicited sex or relationship advice. And listen to our advice on an upcoming Tags podcast. Sometimes you just need a fresh perspective and objective ears. DM us on Instagram at TAGSPodcast. We got you. Well, we've got to get into some Reddit threads. There's 3 of them. I don't know if we have time for all of them, but if not, we carry the one over to, well, that's just Tags Live. But let's try to get to as many as we can.
Okay.
A current Reddit thread on Ask Gay Men asked the question, is it weird that my partner wants to party solo? My boyfriend and I were in our late 20s and early 30s, just moved in together. Cody, we're talking about 2 years now. We started to experience and open our relationship up lately. We decided to take it slow and calculated by first adding another guy for a 3-way before we start to see other people solo. We also decided that we should show each other the guys that we're about to see solo, just for the sense of doing this together and removing any bad mojo and suspicious feelings. I like that idea.
Okay.
So far, so good. Today, he told me that there's another experience that he'd like to have again at some point, and that's going solo to gay parties and try to pick up another guy, dance and kiss them, and maybe have sex with them later on another day. Whoa, okay, hold on.
Wow.
He said that it's purely for the thrill of it and that he misses this experience. I told him that it bothers me and that it gives me the impression that he feels locked and limited while being in a relationship, and that it feels like he really needs to feel like he's single again. Having casual grinder sex while coordinating it with me is one thing, but going to such an activity without me, like I don't exist, is a complete other thing. It goes on and on, but the guy wants to know if he should be worried about him missing about what's going on with his partner. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this? Because we talk a lot about open relationships, and does this guy sound like the boyfriend's pushing it too much to want to go out solo and meet up guys like, in my mind, a single person would do?
In my opinion, it does. It sounds like a little much. I think that it's not really up to us to decide what he can and can't do. I think that it's up to them to come to a mutual agreement
Mhm.
on boundaries. And I think that the boundaries sound a little blurry at the moment, and maybe they just need a sit down discussion for where they can go moving forward, and what things are off cuff and what things are not, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
I think that it does help to have an outside point of view, but at the end of the day it comes down to, like, in my opinion, if this was my relationship, I think it sounds like it's going a little too far. One of them is and the other one isn't, and that uneven balance may cause one to worry, which is obviously happening. And so I think it's good to be honest with your partner and come to, like, an agreement, like I said, or just setting some sort of boundaries there where it's a mutual understanding,
Yep.
rather than always worrying or like being on the edge of your seat when your partner's just enjoying themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting, Cody, because somebody wrote in after that and said the problem with having this goal is that sometimes commitment does require giving up things you might really, really want. A
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend who tries to avoid that may not be a boyfriend you can count on in tough times.
Mhm.
I sort of agree with that, Cody, a little bit, in
Okay.
that things change. It sounds like they're very mature in the way they've evolved with their open relationship. This seems like a new evolution, but it doesn't seem like one of them is on the same page with the other one. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on this?
Well, I completely agree with everything Jeremy said. You get to define what your relationship is from the onset, and it can evolve to whatever you want it to evolve into. But to me, I could never allow that to happen in my own relationship. To me, it actually sounds like the boyfriend of this guy does want to be single and have single experiences still. So I think that they should really take that into consideration. Maybe consider taking a break from each other. I don't I'm kind of flabbergasted. I don't know what that guy is actually missing, or what experiences he feels like he needs to have outside of his relationship.
I think I agree with what you're saying too. I also agree with what Jeremy was saying, in that it's hard for us to decide because we can just give opinions. We can certainly speak to what this guy is feeling, and he kind of feels like he needs to definitely have that conversation that this doesn't feel right for him.
Mhm.
On the other hand,
He's
I
already
can
made up
think
his mind for sure.
he is, but he's posting it to Reddit, so he's wondering, is this right or
Well,
wrong?
you
So
posted to
let's not get,
Reddit.
yeah, you want a little feedback.
You're on the fence when you post it
You
on
want the
Reddit for
Janet
sure.
Jackson feedback. Yeah. And the thing about it, I can think of a couple when at the New York Eagle where I go here, that they're married. They've been married for a little while now, and they tend to play separately. And
Mhm.
one of the out of the two husbands that goes more frequently than the other one does, I see a lot, or at least when I was going there more. And he always wants to kind of play with me. Now I know both of them, and
Mhm.
I know that, and I've played mostly with the one that I see at, but I love the other one too. And I'll see them at like a random outside at one of a New York brunch restaurant. I'll be like, "Hey, you guys, they're really lovely and really great." Well, the one that I see in the bar their rule is he can play with somebody at a cruise bar like the Eagle, have
Mhm.
whatever fun he can have there, but not take it home. In other words, he's can't go home with somebody, and he doesn't want to. He
Oh.
really just kind of wants to have his Saturday night fun at the cruise bar, leave it there, and go back home to his husband. So that's not really the same thing, but it is sort of similar in
It's
that he
similar.
does
Yeah.
go. And yeah, so I think you can, there is, to this Reddit person who posed the question, there is a way to evolve. Now, I will mind you, when I read the original Reddit thread, I think they said they're in their 20s and 30s, if I
See?
can recall. The 20s, late 20s, early 30s. The couple I'm talking about have been around a minute. One of them's in their late 50s and one of them's in their early 40s. I do think that time and maturity, ages, and jealousy kind of goes out the door a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on that last part?
I do feel like in your 20s, you want to explore more. You want to sow your oats, so to speak, in order to kind of know what you like and what you don't like. And I think that they're establishing what their boundaries are right now in their 20s. I say just give it time and explore and do your best to navigate it right now because again, you're in your 20s or early 30s and you don't it's not so clear and defined.
What about this? Just not to beat this with a dead horse, but what do you better have you ever? I've come across couples that gone together. So it's the whole thing is it weird that my partner wants to party solo? I've seen couples go out together and separate to see who they meet up with. Do you think that could work? Maybe so the other one, Jeremy, does it feel excluded, or is it more of a mess in your
No, I
opinion?
think it turns into a mess, and I think it's kind of like
A
weaving a
game.
web, like we said. It's like playing a game that ends up in a fight, and I don't know. I just don't find it, you either want to be single or you want to party with your significant other, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it probably leads to more. I've
I'm not
seen
saying
what.
you can't ever go out with them and they have to stay attached at your hip. I'm not saying that
Yeah,
at
right.
all. What I'm saying is, I think if you are searching to spend time without them in all social settings, that there's something that you need to recalculate.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you and agree actually on that one. All right. Moving on, another Reddit thread on Ask Gay Bros Over 30, like that name.
Yes.
A boyfriend said he was versatile but won't top me. What should I do? Ooh. I like how we're so that was the last couple was 20s and late 20s, early 30s. This one we are 49 and 45.
Oh
The
my.
person writing this is 49. Have they've been together for 5 years now. At the start, he told me he was versatile, like myself, and I was looking forward to a sex life that involves both of us taking turns. However, he does have some ED, erectile dysfunction issues, and he volunteered to
Mm-hmm.
take Viagra. I said I didn't want him to use any medication just for the sake of sex. But I sometimes wish for a good pounding from him, and dildos just aren't the same. Should I
Mm.
just learn to live with it and let go of having to have bottoming sex ever again? We're monogamous. So this one's interesting. So they're monogamous
Mm-hmm.
and 5 years, a little bit more mature than the last story. I'm a little confused though why, as somebody wrote, sounds like you're causing this issue for yourself. Let him try fucking Viagra or
Yeah.
Cialis. I mean, and I would add to that before I hear from you guys is that, we do a lot of shows on ED. We've
Mm-hmm.
had so many different people on. Susan Pratton was one of my favorite guests. And in fact, she gave me this really good supplement that is all about blood flow, nitric oxide. You don't have to you can get it in different places. And there's all kinds of more natural ways,
Yeah.
pumps and things that really encourage natural like help with the blood flow, particularly down there. Cody, you and we had Dr. Chris Bustamante on the
Oh
show the other day that
yeah.
was talking about um, how to that treatment that he was doing that used sound waves on the penis,
Mm-hmm.
and Boomer Banks was one of his first people that he was doing it on, and how it creates more sensation and harder, longer. There's my point, and I do have a point here, is that I don't know why you'd be mad at Viagra. If you're really dying for that pounding, let him take the damn
Get
Viagra,
it,
for crying
girl.
out loud. I mean, and then you could look into some more natural remedies that maybe aren't a pill. I don't know, Cody, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it sounds to me like he's been okay with being the top for this long. So he doesn't necessarily need to bottom so often. So what's a Viagra pill every now and then, every couple of months or every couple of weeks? I don't think that that's going to harm anybody. It's approved by the FDA. So I think that it's totally safe as far as I know. And also, I would, along with those natural remedies that you were suggesting, he should get his testosterone check. I think that when you get up a little bit up in age, in your 40s, late 40s and early 50s, your testosterone levels naturally drop. So get your testosterone tested and make sure that that's not the issue that he's having, and then maybe go from there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can sort of, a lot of the joke has always been, the age old joke is when someone says they're versatile, it's like,
You're really a
yeah,
bottom girl.
right.
I seen your legs up last week.
And I mean, I think there could be some truth to that. I know I've in the past said that before, and I probably skew more 80-20, 80 top. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, bitch, please.
I couldn't even say it without 80-20 though. Although I can reverse that. I can change that through different means. But when you've been one position for so long and pretty damn good at it, I might add.
Hey, get a girl.
Speaking of myself,
Gold star for
that
Steve.
yeah, I have had a boyfriend before that was probably more bottom than maybe even 10 90 to my 80-20, and we had a great year-long relationship,
Mhm.
but I had to get it together, and we never had that conversation of I'm more like I think maybe when you have that deeper conversation, if you've been together 5 years, like you said you have been together, it's time to have a deeper conversation on maybe you haven't had successful topping. Maybe it's a mental thing, and you guys can work through that through together. If you're in your 40s now, I mean, nothing should be off the table. Late 40s. I find now in my early 50s, I can talk about anything to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, bathroom topics. I mean, I talk about everything that in the past I used to be I can't talk about that. I can't do that. And by not talking about things that also limited and made me live up to a perception that I couldn't always live up to. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on advice for this Reddit thread user?
I was in agreement with the Viagra, just because I think that it could easily help his fix for maybe, I don't know, maybe a few times a month or every
Yeah.
other month or something like that he will want to bottom. But I also think that they just need to talk about it more, and I think that he will get the satisfaction from being together for 5 years. If he hasn't bottomed at all, I'm sure that the Viagra won't make it such a big deal.
Yeah.
And who knows, he could try it once and absolutely hate it and not want to do it again, because there is an amount of work that goes into it if you don't do it all the time. And I think, who's not to try it? When you've been together for 5 years, that's like a significant amount of time to just like keep the options open and try something that's new. And if he doesn't like it, then he doesn't need to try it again. And if he loves it, then they have a new option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the bedroom wise. And maybe he will seek out the fact that originally his partner was versatile and may actually enjoy topping.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
I don't know why I believe in this couple for some reason. I'm going to respond on the Reddit thread. I am, because I think if you've been together 5 years, I like that they're mature. They say they're monogamous. I like that. I mean, just first, I like open relationships couples too, but I think these guys sound like they have something going on. I think it sounds like they just need to communicate, like you just said, Jeremy, and it could be fixed. And the other guy might just need a little more encouragement, and the one writing in might just need to, if it's just he wants to get pounded like a couple times a month, let him take the Viagra or the Cialis.
I think Jeremy has a totally great point. I always say I want a bottom, and then when it comes down to it, I'm like, no, I think I'm good. No. It's work.
No,
honey.
I really do think I give like people that bottom often, or just in general, I give them a lot of credit, and I think that there's so much preparation and thought that goes into it that I do know, as being primarily top, you don't have to go through.
Yeah.
Like trimming and everything like that is so much easier than worrying about what you ate today and cleaning out and worrying about like when you want to be spontaneous and get fucked, or you know what I mean? And I just think that that's something that you have to factor into if you're making the decision to bottom, especially if you haven't in a matter of 5 years.
Absolutely.
But I also don't think that it's not something that his partner can cope and adjust to, being with him for 5 years as well. That's probably one of the better people to bottom for, because I'm sure his partner wouldn't assume that he's going to just go into being like power bottom mode from not bottoming for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds pretty fixable. Like their issue doesn't sound too bad, and I think they can fix this. I'm going to write in on that Reddit thread. I'm going to give them my 2 cents.
Girl, let us know how it goes.
I will. All right, rounding out the show, I've got 2 stories that I'm in love with. And speaking of preparation, sink your tongue and teeth into these kinky desserts. I am all about this bakery that has popped up on the Lower East Side of New York City. It is a bakery that Kinky Dessert Bar is New York City's one-stop shop for sweet and creamy waffles, cupcakes, cookies, baked and decorated to resemble human genitalia.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't think I would really like this at first because I was just like, I don't know about all this, but I want to go there. And it's LGBT welcoming, Black and woman-owned business.
Oh.
Is the city's first adult bakery and features a menu of baked goods so naughty nobody under 18 is permitted inside.
Oh my!
And when you look at some of
be in Miami, then.
Yeah.
Lisbeth.
I'm going to post this. I'm posting this on TAGSPodcast. Some of my favorite cupcakes that they have are a cupcake with a nipple on it, a perfect nipple, and they're pink nipples, there's brown nipples, there's chocolate nipples.
Love all
and
that.
Then they have 2 dots on either side, so they're pierced cupcakes. Get it?
Oh my God, I love that.
For vagina lovers, there's ones that really look like you're eating a vagina.
You can
and
skip this part. No, I'm just joking.
They look really real, though, too, though. It's
Do
really
they?
nice.
Send it to me. I want to see.
I'm going to send it to you guys. It's really good. I'm shout out to this bakery, though.
We gotta go.
I mean, Jeremy, would you eat something like this?
Of course I would. I love dick and titty and ass cupcakes and cookies and shit.
I love it. Yeah, I'm putting it in your feed right now so you guys can see it. Yeah, Cody, what are your thoughts on this?
At first, I thought I really was like, this sounds like a bachelorette party type stuff, and I was kind of unimpressed. But your wonderful description of it, I'm ready to go right now. I'm ready to pack it up, hop on a train, and go wherever this is.
Kinky Dessert Bar in New York City. Yeah, I'm all about it. They have, I don't know what it is, but it's a huge dick that's like oozing out with cream at the top.
I just opened it up and it is gorgeous. It's gorgeous and it looks so real. I'm ready to go.
It does. They're really really cute. The creative and professional brainchild of August and John DeWint. They're the entrepreneurs.
Oh, I love the titty ones.
Aren't
They're
they
so
cute?
cool.
Okay, I'm sold. Let's go.
Oh, and of course it's on the Lower East Side.
Of course. As the couple wrote, the one of the half of them wrote, as a black woman, I know what it is I know what it is. Excuse me. As a black woman, I know what it is like to enter spaces and not feel welcome or included. So I wanted to make Kinky's Dessert Bar an inviting space where people could openly be themselves. I like that.
I love that.
It's cool. I got to check this out. You got to check it out when next time you're in New York for sure. Get your kinky dessert on. And lastly, I got to ask you, Jeremy, because this is a New England thing. Apparently, a mom asked about ordering subs on Grindr and things got very awkward. Okay, so recently on a Twitter account, Spice Boy Joey wrote, "Mom asked if Grindr is for ordering subs, and I had to walk out of the room." For those of you who might not know, Grindr, Grinder, is another word for a submarine sandwich used in parts of New England, not to be confused with Grindr, the gay hookup app. So, did you know that, Jeremy?
No, I had no idea, but everyone in my family knows what Grindr, the actual grind DR is.
Can you ask your family later if they know if it's a sandwich thing too? I mean, it is apparently.
They definitely don't know anything about any sandwich thing named that same name.
Okay, they said Maine and parts of Massachusetts and other areas, but yeah, when she asked her adult gay son, he was like, "Oh my god, I can't. I can't. I mean, it's just you can't make this shit." He left the room. And on that note, we have to leave the room too. I'm so sorry, but this has been so much fun. You can follow us on TikTok. Thanks for new users on our TikTok channel at TAGSPodcast. One of our recent postings got 11.1 thousand views.
Ooh, wow.
So I know it was when we had Jin on our show, and it was a juicy comment that he said, and it's a fun edit. You got to check it out. Follow us on the TikTok at Tags Podcast. You can follow my co-host Jeremy Ross Lopez at J Ross Lopez. Follow Cody at KMD Coaching because he's a life coach, or at Mr. Maurice. And don't forget that you can still take advantage of our special offer. Join our Patreon community, our Tag Sex Pause community. Simply go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast. Pick a tier there, support Tags, and enjoy the perks. Thanks, guys. This has been so much fun. Thanks, Jeremy.
Always.
Yeah, always. Yeah, thanks, Cody.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, continue having hot
gay
sex.
Sex.
Yeah.